Hello, everybody. This is your old pal, Uncle Hondo, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on Sports Illustrated and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. It's great to be with you today. This is our Tuesday coaching search update, just digging in a little bit on where things are. Got some new developments, got some more information for you as the Raiders proceed forward looking for a new coach and general manager. Let's go over and just touch a couple things of recap, then move quickly ahead. I told you on Sunday night that Ben Johnson was the front runner for the job. It did not mean there isn't going to be more interviews. It doesn't mean that somebody can't wow them, but Ben certainly is extremely highly interested in the Raiders' job. The esprit de corps with him and Tom Brady, I am told, was unbelievable to both parties. Both men had tremendous respect for each other and their knowledge about the game of football. So the interviews continue. Of course, you've heard about Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn, um, uh, Pete Carroll, of course. Sorry, excuse me about that one. I told you that Dion had expressed interest to the Raiders, but that wasn't uh, reciprocated. Um, my buddy Vic Tafer and Sean Reed from The Athletic put a great report out about just kind of Mark Davis wanting to move away from the Patriot way. Certainly not moving away, but we've learned that the Patriot way without Tom Brady doesn't work, and they have Tom Brady, so they're looking more for that. That was a great report by Vic and Deshaun. They did a great job, and I can, in case anyone's wondering, confirm it 100%. It was absolutely spot on. So good job by them. And the process continues. Now, there's one name that I keep hearing that the Raiders are going to want to talk to. Um, but until I get some formal that they're going to request that, I'm not going to say it just because you don't want to, cause any problems for anybody. But I can tell you this very clearly: Ben Johnson um, is the guy that at this point is the leader in the clubhouse. I shared with you about Pete Carroll that I was told by someone. I mean, let's just be frank. Pete Carroll would be a great hire. This guy's a surefire Hall of Famer. He's a winner everywhere. I say everywhere. Obviously, early in his career there was some failures, but he's a winner. Um, the concerns with him are only a couple, and let's face it, the positives outweigh everything. And the one concern being, okay, he's not younger, and they're trying to build a long-term answer. But I think anyone that has had exposure to Pete Carroll would tell you that um, there are some people that um, just simply they may be a certain age, but they're energizer bunnies, and that's Pete. Again, I think if there was a legitimate question about Pete, and it's not a question of character or ability or talent, um, he is known to run a organization that's very um, it's a very upbeat, very exciting, not necessarily the most um, disciplined. And there is a lot of people inside the organization, and I'm repeating to you what I've been told by people in the organization. There was a lot of frustration last year that the 2023 Raiders under Antonio Pierce had, games with no penalties and tons of discipline. And there was a feeling that last year's team lacked that discipline. And I think that is a fair criticism. Antonio Pierce talked about it, so I don't think it's being unfair. And I think and I know there is because it's been expressed to me. It's not a negative, has not ruled them out at all, nor should it. But there is some concern that with a Pete Carroll system, uh, would there is there the corresponding discipline? Now, I think the fact that the way he's won and how he's won tells you that there is, and you don't have to be a general you don't have to be a Bobby Knight to bring discipline. So although I think that those are fair questions to talk to Pete about, I don't think that they're questions that should preclude him in any way from being the coach. And again, not the front runner. And I told you on Sunday that I was told by a person in the organization he's an extremely viable candidate, but for Pete to get the job, there would have to be some people that it didn't work out with. So Pete is clearly there. He's got an interview coming, and there's some others that have been talked about. This is going to be really fascinating to watch how this plays out. I was asked yesterday, and I'll reiterate it, about a timeline. I still would think, and I want to put emphasis on think, that the earliest would maybe be next Thursday or Friday. Certainly could happen quicker, but it could also extend further on, um, until certain coaches are no longer coaching in the NFL playoffs. So I think the earliest would be in 9 days, but I think it could extend on till early February, um, just because of dynamics. So there's a lot of things going on there, um, a lot of interest. I mentioned to you about John Spytek, but he's certainly not the only GM candidate. But it is a certainly that is the one around the league. I called Shannon and I called somebody last night. He picks up the phone. He goes, Spytek. And I go, I don't even get a hello. And he laughed. He goes, I know exactly why you're calling. And I said, so you think he'll be the guy? And he goes, I think he makes the most natural fit. Again, one other name that I'm hearing too, I'll get into that in another time. So there's where everything sits at that thing. Now, I've gotten a ton of email, people asking me about a search firm. Why are the Raiders using a search firm? Does it mean they don't know who they want? So I want to bring complete clarity to a search firm. Now, there are two reasons why you hire a search firm. The first one is a search firm will go out and do all of the background information. They do credit checks, they do criminal background checks, they do private investigating to make sure there's no there's nothing about you that's going to embarrass the franchise. All right. When teams, I would recommend every single college athletic director or pro team always to use that, just to make sure you know what you're getting, just to make sure you're double checking. Okay, this person's got good credit. This person's this person's that. Just so you know you're not dealing with anything that could be an embarrassment to the organization. Then part of that process is they're going to go and they can gauge interest of candidates so that the team doesn't get embarrassed. So, for example, all right, you may remember, I believe it was Ben Johnson who said, I'm not interested in interviewing for the Patriots. That's fine. If it wasn't Ben, whoever it was, somebody said they weren't interested in interviewing with the Patriots. Fine. But when you use a search firm, then he never turned down the Patriots. A search firm just called him and said, "Hey, would you like us to facilitate an interview with the Patriots or the Raiders, whatever?" It's all smoke and mirrors, but it's all PR. Now, where search firms are terrible is when you have an athletic director in college or you have an NFL team that has no clue what they're doing and then says to the search firm, go find us a coach. Go bring us guys to interview. Now, one of the most successful athletic directors in college sports history is a great friend of mine. And I'll never forget once when he said to me, any college athletic director that needs a search firm to find coaches shouldn't have the job. But you do use a search firm for all the background. Now, the particular search firm that the Raiders are using, again, Shannon and I have a very good friend who's worked with them before and has talked about the fact that they are incredibly thorough, and they brought back voluminous amounts of information on candidates. And yes, they do help facilitate, but it allows there to be a level of cloak and dagger that gives both coverage to the candidate and coverage to the franchise. So that's really all it is. They're not using them to go find the coach. Tom Brady is very well aware. Mark Davis is very well aware. Richard Seymour's very well aware of exactly what they're interested in. But then you're able to pass it off to a search firm and have them do all the dirty work. And it is a very wise investment by the franchise. So that's what's happening there. I want to talk about the general manager search. So I have been able to gather some more information about the release of Tom Telesco and the fact that it had nothing to do with his performance. In fact, any team calling the Raiders seeking a reference on Tom Telesco will get a great reference from them. And one of the issues that I think with Tom Telesco is that, not having a permanent QB1. So let's go through this. In Jacksonville, your owner just gave Shad Khan just gave Trevor Lawrence $250 million. You know what you have in Trevor Lawrence. In Chicago, it's going to be Caleb Williams. In New England, it's going to be Drake May. Now, who knows how those guys' careers end up panning out. But the point of the matter is there is something very appealing, because I've told you many times, you don't win in the NFL without knowing who your quarterback is and establishing a vision, a plan, and a direction. Okay. So the Raiders know that. The Raiders also know they have a ton of cap space. They got some great picks. There's a lot of talent. They know that's very appealing, but they like the idea of a coach being able to come in on the ground floor with a general manager and having that triangle of trust. Now, that's the term that I learned last night or the other night, but that is the term when talking to someone who's part of the organization, was a triangle of trust. That general manager, Tom Brady, coach, um, connection, where the three of them all are on the same page. There's nobody coming in from the outside, and it'll allow a candidate to obviously, hey, what do imagine them interviewing a Ben Johnson saying, hey, we're thinking about bringing in a John Spytek. And this is what, Brady, and obviously him and Brady have a tremendous relationship, talking about Spytek and Johnson. And then Brady being able to, this is where this works for all of us. So that was the reason with Telesco. It wasn't for job performance at all. And, but it was because they felt like it gave them an extra arrow in their quiver when going after the coach. Now, I reported something Sunday that went national. Viral when I talked about, if the Raiders don't get Ben Johnson, money will have nothing to do with it. I want to go back and revisit that a little bit more, because I want to make sure people really understood. Mark Davis is currently paying Gruden, McDaniels, and Antonio Pierce. All right. And he's got a checkbook open, and he's going to spend whatever he has to spend when him and Richard Seymour and Tom Brady, that's our guy. Period. Mark Davis is all in. This is only about winning. That's the only thing. Nothing personal, just about winning. So I want to reiterate and make sure that point is driven home, because I think Mark has gotten a lot of bad publicity, because when the team was in Oakland, they did not have the cash that they do now. Money is no object anymore. And when you're looking for reasons to applaud Mark Davis, that should be one of the biggest. The Raiders no longer are precluded from conversations about free agents or precluded from conversations when it comes to coaching candidates or anything else because of money. Period. That's laughable. So that's where the Raiders find themselves today. That's the coaching update. Ben Johnson clearly in the driver's seat, but they are more than willing to be Tomlin by someone else. They're going to continue the process, but I expect tomorrow, and that we may have. Um, no, we'll just keep giving you daily updates about where the process is, what's going on. I know the Raiders are discussing, general managers and all that, but I think uh, once the general manager is picked, you'll know. All right, this coaching situation is there. It's handled, and so they are continuing to move forward, continuing to have conversations. Now, one other issue I want to address. There is a lot of consternation in the National Football League and from the fans of the other 31 teams because Tom Brady's going to be calling Ben Johnson's game this weekend. I think that's hilarious. I think if there's anything old school Al Davis Raiders, it's that the Raiders are yet again causing consternation for somebody. And I think it's funny. And the NFL knew this when they approved Tom Brady. They knew it, period. They knew it. So all the consternation to me is just a bunch of teenage girls creating drama, only it's billionaires. And they're just creating drama, upset, mad. Well, this isn't, shut up. You knew it. Just shut up. Don't want to hear about it. And I think it's great that the Raiders are yet again find themselves in the middle of something. How Raider is that? As they're bringing back and bringing new vitality to the franchise and bringing new fire and all of the new way, the renewal of the Raider way. I think we can throw away the term Patriot way. That's dead and gone. I think that how Raider is there that now the Raiders are making everybody mad. And now everyone wants to be up in arms. Man, you didn't have a problem approving him as an owner, and you knew exactly. Anybody that tells you we didn't know that Tom Brady was going to be, shut up. Yes, you did. Tom Brady doesn't get half-hearted involved in anything that has to do with football. That is laughable. And I keep seeing all these reports. In fact, I'm going to be on a national program this week talking about, is it an unfair advantage? I think it's hilarious. The NFL, Tom Brady moves the needle. Tom Brady sells the league. The league wants Tom Brady involved. They do. Why do you think they're paying almost $40 million a year, Fox is, to have Tom Brady calling games? Because he moves the needle. They want him involved. And how fitting now he's involved with the Raiders and everybody's mad. I think it's hilarious. And I think it's really good. And I think it's good for the Raiders. And here's the other one. We're going to keep him out of the facilities, can't go to practice, whatever. Okay, great. So what's he doing during the week? Being a minority owner. Well, that's not fair. He's supposed to be calling games, and all of his focus is on a search. You didn't want him in practices. You didn't want him to get to go to stuff. It's called the rule of unintended consequences. You thought, we get Tom Brady, but we're going to limit him. He's like, Merry Christmas. God bless you. Thanks. How more of a Raider thing is that? So that's your update for Tuesday. Can't wait to give you one tomorrow. I think I'll have a little bit more information for you on a couple of issues that I want to talk to you about tomorrow, but I just want to give that to you. I hope you're enjoying this process. I hope you are enjoying the process. If you are a Raider fan and you have wallowed in the mediocrity of the last several years, multiple years, couple of decades. You're now in the center of it. You now have the search for the coach, search for the general manager, complaining about the owner. Man, this is just like the old days. I hope you're enjoying it. And again, I think the Raiders are going to be better for this process. I've had a lot of you asking me to explain the process and why I think it's better this time. I'm going to get into all of that without any hesitation. But I do think it's important that you recognize, I think the Raiders are being smart. They're talking to a lot of people, but they know who they want. I think they know exactly who they want in the general manager's chair. I think they know exactly who they want in the coach's chair. And they are working in a way that says, but hey, nothing is finalized. Let's continue to search out. Let's continue to do interviews. Let's continue to ask people, what do you think? And get people's assessments of our franchise. I am going to end with this. I asked someone last night, tell me what you've learned about Tom Brady in this process. And I thought this was fascinating. They said, I knew how much he knows, but I did not know how good of a listener he is. He is an exceptional listener. And so whether he's taking in information and processing it or hearing how people talk about their process, they have said that to me. So I thought that was fascinating that they said he hasn't come in the room acting like the smartest guy. He's come in and certainly has asked very poignant questions, but he's extremely good listener. I thought that was really fascinating. Very, very fascinating. So there's your Tuesday update. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. God bless you. Be safe. And of course, I'll see you again tomorrow. Make sure you keep it tuned. SI.com/NFL/Raiders. We're giving you like 15 to 24 pieces of content every day, 100% free. And I want to reiterate something. If there's a report and we're giving you information, remember, reporting doesn't mean an endorsement. We're giving you this information so you're up to date on every single bit of information. SI.com/NFL/Raiders. You don't have to miss a thing. We'll see you all there. God bless you, everybody.